Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Draft Night, and welcome to Bengal Jim and Friends coverage of Draft Night. We've got it covered unlike anybody else. We've got somebody live in the inner circle in Las Vegas, and it just happens to be 2021 NFL Cincinnati Bengal Fan of the Year, our own Bengal Jim. And what's in, we've got Brian Bosarge with us. We knew him when we found him. We knew him as Deepfried Draft. Now he's at the most prestigious place on the web. We've been covering the draft for years and Draft Countdown. So we're going to visit for just a second with Jimmy. Jimmy, how chaotic is it there?
Tom, I'm gonna tell you, Tom, Brian, it's crazy. Let me tell you something. We're in the inner circle. There's only 20 fans from each team represented in this inner circle. And look at this crowd right here. Hey, who dey, everybody? Who dey? Hey, Bengal fans, been running the Bengal fans the last couple days all over Vegas, man. It's awesome. Awesome.
Well, Jimmy, we'll be checking back in with you. We're going to get into some deep draft conversation with Brian. Brian, I know one thing you're doing is unique. You and your site, which you're a big contributor and big part of, is you guys are going to be covering the draft start to finish. Pick one till Mr. Irrelevant at the end of round 7. I mean, Rich Eisen isn't the only Iron Man. And you guys don't have commercials and somebody to cover for you for bathroom breaks and everything else. Tell the fans how they can get with you for in-depth coverage for each team, analysis of each pick, and what each team needs.
Yeah, we're going to go live here at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central over at youtube.com/The Draft Countdown. Like you said, pick one to Mr. Irrelevant. We're going to cover it all, every pick, every trade. Day 3 of the draft, NFL Network, ESPN, they're going to stop giving a crap about who everybody picks.
Yeah.
You're not. We're going to tell you about each and every player that's drafted. And I can tell you this, Bengal fans, we won't go to commercial when our team goes on the clock.
And that is, that's a great way to put that up. We get to round 4. It seems like one guy gets, somebody gets picked for the Jets, and then they come back and, oh, by the way, these 6 guys just got drafted from around the league. So, I'm glad you guys are going to be there to give every team and every draft pick their due and their just due. So a couple things have happened since we had you on the show a couple weeks ago. And I've always one day somebody will be able to explain to me how months after they've played their last game, guys can rise and fall so dramatically, even after the interviews and everything else. There was a handful of guys that everybody in Bengaldom seemed to have wanted. And as the day of mock drafts seemed to be coming out, a lot of them seemed to be slipping out of our fingers. From about pick 20 to pick 30, the guys that we would take seemed to be disappearing. What are your thoughts? The last day, your last mock, what will be there for the Bengals at 31 that is worthy of a pick 31 and, will entice them not to trade down?
I personally feel like when we get to 31, that trade down is probably going to be the best way to go. Just based off how my board fell when I laid it out. But since I don't really project trades in my mock drafts because it becomes too chaotic and you don't really know, it messes things up.
Sure.
I went with Kyler Gordon, the corner from Washington. He fits every measurable that the Bengals have ever drafted in a corner. Most corners, when you get drafted, teams want that 4.3, 4.4 speed. The Bengals haven't ever really held to that standard. They've drafted corners that are in that 4.5 range as long as they can cover. Kyler Gordon can do that. His measurables, his 3-cone, all that was great. He would be a good pick for the Bengals. You hope that maybe a Kyer Elam falls, maybe even a Trent McDuffie falls. But if Kyler Gordon is the pick at corner, my feelings aren't hurt about it.
So they can be satisfied. It's interesting you say that because up here Dave Lapham was talking about him the other day. But he also mentioned, he might be the kind of guy that maybe from a talent-wise or on a lot of people's board is going to be there second round, pick 7 to 15. do you see, it's odd because a player can be really good, but not worthy of a pick at a certain spot. You trade back to get him, and that bad pick you would have made becomes a great pick. So, I mean, that might be exactly the type of guy they have in mind. Who do you see from that cusp of players that were talked about, the Karlaftis, Booth, the guys you mentioned? Any potential guys that will fall? It seems like every year one guy does fall.
Seemingly here, I think you could look at some of the corners that I mentioned Gordon or whatever. The problem is, like I said, I don't think there's going to be that many what you call first round grades for teams. So players 24 to 45 may roughly grade out the same for these teams, and a trade may not even materialize. You may have to just suck it up and pick at 31. So you could see guys that are maybe not going to go in that first round or you wouldn't normally go in the first round. The Bengals may end up having to take a guy like I said, Gordon, maybe Logan Hall, who we've talked about before, right, is another guy who could be in that early second round mix, but goes 31. Could go earlier too. Arnold Ebiketie, the edge rusher from Penn State's a name that's picking up steam towards the end of the first round that I think the Bengals would have interest in. Devontae Wyatt has some.
You're good.
Has some off the field concerns and age, but he's he could also be there for 31 from Georgia because they are looking for that 3 tech that I think Logan Hall would also play.
Yeah, the disruptor. They've got to find somebody to take some of those Larry Ogunjobi snaps from last year. So but I like the way you're thinking. Unless there's just somebody that falls there that is stupid to take, that they will be looking at defense. They need some youth on that defense. And we've certainly got one safety that's going to be a free agent next year, probably 2 as each day goes on, that the likelihood of Jesse Bates not coming back next year increases. Eli Apple, 1-year deal on the outside, and they desperately need some depth at the cornerback position. So we'll see what goes on from there.
I'm glad you mentioned safety because there is one guy that has I actually saw one mock draft that had him going 31, but I think in a trade back scenario, if you're talking safety, Jalen Petrie from Baylor is a guy who can also play some slot corner, can also play free safety. I think he's a guy who could be of interest to the Bengals. Maybe, like I said, in a trade back. I also not holding out, and in a trade back scenario, Trey McBride, the tight end from Colorado State, also could be in play.
Lou Anarumo's defense, I mean, he's a guy, especially with his defensive backs, that's his specialty. But he likes guys with some versatility. I mean, maybe they get a guy with the idea of putting him outside, but he's still got to be able to play inside, and maybe vice versa. And, the safeties have to be able to cover, but they also have to be able to tackle and be a leader and diagnose and put guys in position. So, I think as the day has gone on, and I've talked to some people, drafting a safety and giving him 1 year to grow up in the system before really taking over potentially at free safety for Jesse Bates, might be the case. Those contract talks have been, I don't want to say toxic, but they certainly haven't been optimistic since they started last year, and it really hasn't gotten much better this year. And, we'll see how he is with playing on the franchise tag if he comes to mini camp and any of the off-season workouts, which he's not required to, but we will see. Moving on, do you see a punt returner? Darren Simmons has said that over and over and over. Do you see a punt returner in their future, somebody that can flip the field, make a difference in that way?
I think you're going to look. I don't think you'll see that, and probably until Saturday, maybe the 4th round. Someone got a couple of guys to keep an eye on that I think the Bengals will have interest in are Bo Melton, wide receiver from Rutgers, has some return ability. Kyle Phillips, UCLA, slot receiver, could be. You could draft him. He probably doesn't play receiver a whole lot early in his career, but if you at some point you're not going to be able to pay all 3 of those receivers, right? And you have to think Tyler Boyd's probably the first man out the door of the 3. And so if you can get Kyle Phillips, maybe if he can develop into that reliable, or Bo Melton as well. I think they're both slots in the NFL. You know, they get their feet wet with Darren Simmons and slowly, gradually kind of, you know, get in on the offense.
Sounds like a plan. Late round, do you see any late round gems, late round guys that fit the Bengals system, offense or defense?
Ooh, late round guys. Guy that's picking up steam. We're talking about a 3-tech, tested well, good production. Local kid out of Cincinnati, Curtis Brooks. He's picking up steam, and I think he's going to be available. Maybe with that late 6th round pick or that first pick in the 7th round. Could be a guy that the Bengals target there. I think they're going to double dip on the defensive line at some point. Get one early, get one late. Maybe even get an end, 2 tackles, 2 ends, 1 tackle. You know, you could see him go three of those 8 picks up front on the defensive line.
Yeah, Curtis, watching him here in Cincinnati play at UC, he's almost got a Larry Ogunjobi type of body, and a play and a mentality like him. So, you know, they are paying B.J. Hill $10 million a year. But certainly they want to be able to, you know, even with Trey Hendrickson's numbers last year and Sam Hubbard had some sacks, they've got to improve that pass rush. They've got to figure out a way to get to the quarterback, not just to get to the quarterback, but to help the cornerbacks as well.
Yeah, you've got to replace 700 snaps with Larry Ogunjobi. You're not going to probably do that with one guy. So you're going to have to get some sort of contributions from Josh Tupoy, maybe even Renell Wren, who hasn't done a thing since they drafted him in the 4th round, and probably a rookie to just combine to get those snaps.
All right. After the first 3 rounds, let's say for the sake of argument, they do go all straight defense. The offensive coaches are, to steal a phrase from Frank Pollock, eating glass in the draft room. Who do you see around 4 that might be good, maybe can play left guard, back up at tackle, maybe even, depending on contract talks, inherit the left tackle spot? And, you know, if you're looking at a left tackle, you're probably going earlier than round 4. But what lineman can you see helping them out after the 2nd round?
I don't know if he'll be available. Maybe if they trade back and get, say, that extra 4th round pick, like if they trade out of round 1, they get that extra 4. A guy I really love as a developmental left tackle prospect. He's completely not ready right now. I mean, this guy probably is inactive 16 games next year. But it's Matt Woletsko from North Dakota, tested as a 97% athlete, tremendous frame, great athleticism, as I said, had a really good week at the Senior Bowl, proved he belonged against the big boys. If they can pick it, like I said, I don't think late in the 3rd round would be too high, but if they can get that extra 4th round pick, I don't know if he'll even be available at their late 4th round. But if he were available to them at some point in the 4th round, I would be very satisfied with that pick as a developmental guy to sit, you know, behind Jonah Williams at left tackle.
One of the things Frank Pollock has said about the current roster is Dante Smith, who last year they were looking at just about every position but center. He's going to get a hard look at simply he's a pure tackle now. And he was a left tackle in college. So I don't know if he's been being groomed as the heir apparent, or if he's just going to be the 3rd tackle and the swing guy. But definitely that. Brian, thank you so much for your time. I know you're getting ready to go live and, you know, visit with your family for a few minutes. They won't see it till Saturday at 6:05. But again, tell everybody how they can watch the draft with you guys nonstop, proper coverage, every pick analyzed, no commercials, no shutting down the small markets so we can run the commercial. And tell us again about your website.
All right, for everything, you can get caught up right quick. You got 45 minutes before the draft starts. Go to draftcountdown.com. See my final 1-round mock draft. See my partner Shane P. Hallam's 7-round mock draft he put up this morning. And you can go to youtube.com/thedraftcountdown. Bell-to-bell coverage, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every pick, every trade analyzed by us over at the Draft Countdown YouTube channel.
Brian, thank you so much. Good luck. Happy drafting. We'll talk to you later. Thank you for all you do for us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tom.
Good luck. Hooday.
Hooday.
So there it is, from the guy that's really become the Bengal Jim's unofficial draft expert, but on the inside, calling it where he sees it for the Bengals. And that seems to be the momentum that's building. And that is that the Bengals may very well be on the phone looking to somebody at the top of round 2 to trade back. Jimmy, how's it going to be there in the inner circle if we trade back tonight?
I can't hear a word you're saying, but look at all these Bengal fans right here. Look. This is Bridget right here. Bridget is announcing the draft pick Saturday, right? Saturday. So she will be doing the draft pick Saturday. Watch out for her on TV. Let me keep walking around here. Hold on. They got a band playing time. Hold on. Let's go mess with the Cleveland fans. Watch this. Hey, you guys are live. City up north. You guys are live. They didn't know what to think. Hold on. Let's go fuck with the Steelers. Hold on. But Tom, show me your pick for tonight, buddy. What do you got?
I have them trading back. I really think they're going to trade back. It looks like everybody we talked about and wanted is going to slip right through their fingers. I think they trade back, and we're there tomorrow night.
Well, hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Sorry I couldn't be there with you, Tom. Jamie couldn't make us work, and James is out of town. But, guys, that's the stage. We'll be watching our picks tonight in the next couple days. We'll see everybody. Let's go. Let's get it.